Can we get a stream? Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League and the second edition of the Ignition Zone, our official pre-race experience of the College Cup Series. We're about to ignite your passion for speed, power, and adrenaline-fueled action by reliving last week's Daytona 250, talking to collegiate sim racing giants, and previewing tonight's race where speed and strategy collide on the asphalt background. And tonight, we come to you from the virtual Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for our Never Forget 200. As I'm your host for tonight, Zach Lindler, alongside my partner in crime, Alex Gagnon, and our producers, Christian, John, and Keith. And Alex, I'm very excited for tonight's race. Auto Club has a pretty long history of appearing in the CIL and putting on some very good on-track action, and I believe you've got some more information regarding that.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's one track you could call a staple here in the CIL over the past few years, it has definitely got to be Auto Club Speedway. Over the past, 5 seasons, we've been there 4 times. So there's definitely been quite a few opportunities for drivers to get familiar with this car in the old Gen 6 car, as well as the next gen College Cup car. And we've had quite the range of drivers who have won it here. But easily the man to beat tonight, if he is in the session, will be St. Clair College's Robbie Vrabel Jr., who has won back-to-back Auto Club races here in the CIL. The winner back in Season 5 by a dominant 2.5 seconds, and then winning it on a green-white checkered back in Season 7 on our most recent visit to the 2-mile oval out in California. It's also worth noting we've had Ryan Fenty from St. Joseph's College in New York and Sean Campbell from Randolph Community College also have claimed victory here at Auto Club in the CIL. Those were back in Season 3 and 4 respectively a couple of years ago. So while there is plenty of CIL history here at Auto Club, a lot of new faces since the last time we've came here, Zach, and I think a lot of people who are going to be really hungry either to match their Daytona result or wash their hands clean of Daytona and start anew here at Auto Club.
Yeah, see, a race of up and downs for a lot of drivers last week at the Daytona 250. But ultimately, our rookies won out in that event. Our entire podium, top 3 finishers, were rookies making their first ever CIL start in these next-gen cars. Timothy Moore from Manhattanville College walked away with the Daytona 250 championship and the first spot in the playoffs this season. Finishing runner-up was Drew Jawa from Chattahoochee Tech, and the last step on the podium went to Edward Sanchez of Barrett College. The rest of the top 10 was Austin DeLong from the Penn College of Technology, Colin Culpa from Indiana, Brad Daniels from Robert Morris, Matthew Morton from Ohio State. Reigning series champ Jared Kaler finished 8th for UNC Charlotte, and Jonathan Dyerkop from UCF finished 9th. And the 10th place car, Duncan O'Connor, Nova Scotia Community College, rounded out the top 10. And that is exactly how our point standings are laying out right now. And you can see them scrolling along in the bottom of your screen, actually, our point standings after race 1. Our top 5 in the student championship, obviously Drew Jawa from Chattahoochee Tech, Edward Sanchez, Austin DeLong, Matthew Morton, and Jared Kaler is in that 5th spot right now. Tim Moore is leading the Alumni Championship after his win last week. Colin Culpa is 2nd. Brad Daniels is 3rd. Jonathan Dyerkop is 4th. And 5th place right now goes to Edwin Onofre from the University of North Texas. You mentioned Robbie Vrabel Jr. and St. Clair College. Well, St. Clair College has been a pretty prevalent force here in the CIL for more than a few seasons now. And we have the privilege of being able to interview Dan Banner tonight. Dan is the director, the founder, and I guess the head honcho of the St. Clair Saints iRacing Academy. Dan Banner, welcome to the Ignition Zone pre-race show. We're happy to have you on. There you are. We're going to ask you a couple questions. We're going to kind of pick the brain here on behalf of everybody out there who maybe wants to get started with their own sim racing team. So St. Clair first came onto the scene about 2 years ago, back in Season 3, if my records are right. So I'm wondering what really inspired both you and St. Clair to create one of the first real formalized collegiate sim racing teams that we've seen.
Well, to start from the very beginning, it was essentially a student club kind of project that we see the majority of these some of our competitors are. It was just a matter of myself and Nick Malash, who used to race with us for a little while, but he was interested in. We were both interested in iRacing. I actually stream sniped him while he was iRacing one day, and that's how we kind of discovered each other. And we were racing SK Modifieds, and he was a student. I was a student, but I was also in charge of the broadcasting and whatnot for the varsity team. We wanted to do it, but I didn't really have the time to take over right away. But he pulled the trigger on it. He got the group together, like started doing some recruiting, and found Athena. We found Robbie, and basically we were able to just kind of take it from there and continue to grow year after year. Of course, we found Alex Hogarth as well, Tyler Stone for those first couple years. And between getting the collegiate championship not too long ago, we're still continuing to recruit new members and just been going up and up ever since.
Yeah, sounds like you guys have really been growing a good bit over the past couple of years. I mean, it's clear to see as well with some of the, just the sheer number of names that have started at least one CIL race since the fall of 2021. It's a pretty staggering list, and I'd be hard pressed to find any schools with a larger list than it. Maybe Clemson, but that is.
Here's more where that came from too.
I'd say it's heads or tails. But I do want to ask you, what have you noticed now that this team is kind of in full force? It's really kind of matured into its own, and having been around a few seasons. What is the overall culture of the program like now that we have drivers who have been a part of this league for multiple years now?
We kind of know exactly what we're like getting into, especially with Athena. She's now the head manager, the head coach of that squad, and with the constant CIL experience, she's been able to take these drivers that we've gotten through our open recruiting, who may have been Forza or Gran Turismo or Assetto Corsa or some of these other kind of players, and she's been able to kind of give them the heads up of the environment that you better be ready for some defensive driving because everyone's fighting for their life out here, but get them the right competitive mindset, so to speak. And it's just have her to thank for that, if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that there's a lot to be said with being able to avoid the chaos in front of you, and especially at a couple of these tracks here in the CIL. There's a lot to be said and a lot of positions to be gained by just being able to stay out of trouble.
No, absolutely. I mean, we saw it even last week during the Daytona 250, right? Just heck, we kind of got in our own way a little bit there, but I guess you have so many drivers on the field, it kind of it's going to happen eventually. I do not expect it to happen there, but unfortunate nonetheless. But just nature of the beast. I know we're going to Auto Club today. This is, like you said, you're the pre-show. Robbie's won twice in a row at this track. It's one of Athena's favorite as well. And we have a couple of newcomers as well. Zarin Bartholomew. We also have Tristan Leclerc coming in. So yes, I have a Leclerc and a Leclerc. So that's not going to be confusing.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, more drivers on the way. And Auto Club, I'm definitely looking forward to this one, watching this one from home because Auto Club always delivers.
Dan, one more question before we let you go back and chill with your team before the race. There's a lot of students out there that have a passion for sim racing and e-motorsports that look at this and they say, man, I really want to get into this. I want to try and start a program with my school. What advice would you say that you have for both students and maybe other esports coaches alike who want to get started, not only in the CIL, but in collegiate sim racing in general?
Basically, just cast your net wide and don't necessarily turn anybody away. Of course, we're in a little bit of a niche here as a esport in general, let alone a collegiate esport, right? So if there's anybody who happens to have the interest, take them under your wing. You never know what it'll take to let them flourish. I know for us specifically, for what we're doing for recruiting and getting new members, I'm not doing anything, or we're not doing anything that any club can't do. all we're doing is the equivalent of putting up some posters. Granted, yes, we have the arena, which does draw some extra eyes for gamers and esports fans alike, but there's nothing different than having a bulletin board with like an open tryout for iRacing. Get the thought into people's heads, because a lot of people don't really think about esports and iRacing. They usually think of like esports, League of Legends, Valorant, and that kind of stuff. So just get the ball out there, whether it's a club or another team coming up. You never know, and you just need one driver. It's not like we need a team of 5 here. It's nice if you do, but it's definitely not like mandatory. Just keep it simple, like posters around, put stuff up on the TVs, word of mouth, and just acknowledge that it's something that this community is interested in, and you'd be surprised at what you can find.
Well, Dan, thanks for joining us here on the Ignition Zone. And best of luck to you and the rest of the St. Clair Saints iRacing Academy drivers out in the field tonight. We're excited to see what y'all can do tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That was Dan Banner, the director and founder of the Saints iRacing Academy from St. Clair College. Again, one of the powerhouses here of the CIL. And Alex, you said it'd be hard to find a school that has fielded more drivers than them. Doing great things up there, our neighbors north of the border up in St. Clair, Canada, Windsor, actually. And I think they've got a program that a lot of people would love to replicate.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, just from the sheer amount of involvement, and then they found a fair bit of success. You know, they haven't necessarily walked away with a student division or an overall championship on at least on the oval side just yet. I'm not sure on the formula side, but you know they've come close a number of times. They've already got a handful of wins under their belt, whether it is Zach DeWale or Robbie Vrabel. You know, they have a lot of really talented drivers. And they all seem to work well with each other out on track, and it helps lead them to a lot of success. And a lot of smaller programs, I'm sure, would be more than happy to emulate that success and that sort of setup that they have going on up there.
Yeah, and again, if you're interested in making some sort of program like that, you heard Dan's advice. He says cast your net wide, and you really only need one driver. So go ahead and get started, ask some questions, and get involved. It's super easy, and we can't wait to have you here if you're interested in joining. But we're going to do one last thing before we take a quick break and head into tonight's Never Forget 200. We've asked a lot of our drivers to submit their rigs. We're going to do a candid rig review here on the Ignition Zone. This is Drew Williams, our College Cup Series director and Summer Series champion. He's got a Moza R9 paired with Fanatec V3 pedals, an 32-inch ultra-wide Samsung G7, and a rig metal chassis to hold it all together, as well as a seat that was ripped out of a junkyard in a Miata. So that is a
Miata seat gives you an extra 10 horsepower by itself.
That's so true. Bonus points for the Miata seat. It's always the answer. But that is a championship-winning rig right there. Moving on, this is actually producer Christian's rig that he might be sitting in right now. You can see he's got the triple monitor set up, a CSL Elite wheelbase, Fanatec V3 pedals. Those Fanatecs are popular. 327-inch monitors and an NLR seat and rig combo. So there's another one. I'd give that a solid 8 out of 10.
Absolutely, that was gorgeous. And speaking of a nice setup here, we got another pretty quality one here.
This is Clint Halterman's, I believe. In his own words, he says not really a rig, but this is his setup. Every setup is a rig.
I'm loving the keyboard. Big mechanical keyboard guy.
Are you a guy who's super big into like the sounds of the keyboard and stuff?
It's grown on me a lot over the past year. When I've made my foray into the esport world, I didn't really have much of a care one way or the other. But over the past years, I've been thinking about it more and more. I'm like, man, there's something about those mechanical keyboards that just ring to your ears, you know?
Yeah, Clinton, UNC Charlotte have done some damage here in the CIL, put up some good results on that Logitech G29. Here's Edwin Onofre as well, University of North Texas, also on a Logitech wheel. This is his brand new PC, actually, with a 3060 Ti, where he upgraded, I believe, from a 1050 He's got a play seat challenge folding rig, as well as all the HyperX peripherals he needs to race. Pretty solid, nice little compact rig there, perfect size for an apartment or a dorm room. I'd give that a nice 7 out of 10.
Then we got a nice it's a nice frame that this one's on. Who does this one belong to? They've got it's not super say like LED lighting, but Thomas Bailey, this is a gorgeous setup you've got here with the nice steel rigging.
Yeah, I think that might be a rig metal rig. I think he's got are those Husingvelds? Man, wow, that's some nice equipment there on that rig.
You got all sorts of quality there.
For the Husingvelds, I'd give that an 8 out of 10. Now that is an ultra wide screen right there. This is Thomas Toomey. He's got the Simucube equipment I see there in the middle. Husingveld pedals as well. Those are not cheap. Sparco seat on the rig metal chassis as well. This is legit. This is going to get a 10 out of 10 for me. Thomas Toomey has got it made.
That is a gorgeous piece of machinery right there. But what do we got here?
Yeah, nice. Here we go. This is a championship caliber pedal. You can see the CiL certificate stapled up on the back wall there. But he's got his laptop, he's got his Thrustmaster wheel and pedals bolted into the floor, or I guess it's on a piece of plywood. But that goes to show you don't have to have anything fancy to be good. Zach DeWale has done a really, really good job here in the CiL, results-wise, for St. Clair College. You can see he's not on the best of equipment, but boy, does that guy know how to drive it.
Yeah, he does.
And oh goodness, this is mine actually. So,
nice, like in the you and DeWale got the woodwork going on, got the carpentry.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that chassis I made with my granddad using some spare 2x4 lumber. I've got my CSL Elite Fanatec set up with the pedals, and I believe this is a 32-inch ultra wide monitor. But yeah, she ain't much, but she gets the job done.
Hey, you know what? I would kill for something like that. That's for sure. I might need to hit up the Home Depot at some point here and start chopping up some wood.
Well, hopefully next week we can. We've got one more. This is Zach Jeffcoat. Yeah, Zach Jeffcoat, University of South Carolina. Hey, he actually just moved into his dorm room. He's a freshman this year, so this is the rig as he's got it set up. But there you can see another good driver. With the Logitech setup, you can see the pedals on the floor, wheel bolted to the desk, and nice PC in the back as well, color themed with that red and black for University of South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you can fit it into the dorms. It may not always be pretty, but you can definitely give it a good look if you take a second to get it all nice and set up like he's done here. That's for dorm living, that's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Oh, absolutely. That's if you can get it to fit and you can make it work, it's a 10 in our books. Well, I believe that is going to wrap it up on behalf of everybody here in the Ignition Zone pre-race show. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with action from tonight's Never Forget 200. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Give me a countdown. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Collegiate, where tonight we bring you the second round already electric fall 2023 season of the College Cup Series. I'm your host for tonight, Zach Lindler, alongside Alex Gagnon, and we're in the booth at the virtual Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for tonight's Never Forget 200. Today is a special day to race on, as we honor the lives of the civilians and first responders tragically lost in the 9/11 attacks 22 years ago today. And many of our drivers will be running special paint schemes tonight to honor the sacrifices made by so many heroes on that fateful day. We'll hear more on that later, but before we look at the 100 laps ahead of us tonight, let's take a short view back to the past, last week's Daytona 250. The rookies came out to play as our entire podium was taken up by drivers making their first ever College Cup Series start in the next-gen car. Timothy Moore dominated the event, leading 78 of the 93 laps completed en route to victory lane in his first Daytona 250 championship, as well as locking himself and Manhattanville College into the College Cup Series playoffs. But can Moore, Jawat, and Sanchez replicate their success tonight on the high sweeping banks of Fontana? 100 laps, 200 miles of remembrance separate Moore from his second career win in 2 races. Or maybe a rookie from their first victory. Or maybe Kaler can break his 16-race win drought. Only time and skill on the asphalt battleground ahead can tell. Alex, I am so excited for tonight, given Auto Club's history of putting on incredible shows here for driver and fan alike in the CIL.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good fortune so far with Auto Club over the past few years here in the CIL. Hopefully we'll get some more of that action tonight as we make our way down from the aerial cam here to sunny California. This 2-mile oval has been home to some of the best moments of the CIL over the past few years. Got a nice big entry list once again here tonight, so I'd imagine we'll see quite a few battles throughout the field. Especially with how wide this track is in the corners, Zach. I mean, you could run so many different lanes through the corners. I have a feeling we'll see a lot of battling throughout the field as this night goes on.
And you can see from this aerial cam just how long and wide this track is. You can easily send it 3, maybe even 4 wide. And the restarts especially get hectic here. So the race start, and if we have a caution, expect to see a lot of drivers jockeying for position. For probably about 6 or 7 laps at least after the drop of the green flag. But we've seen, especially here and at Michigan, just this style of track produces incredible racing, where the front pack never really separates. It's racing for the entire event, or at least until we get to green flag pit stops. But like we said, this track always puts on a good show, both in real life and here in the CIL, and we're excited to see what goes down tonight.
With that being said,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
With that being said, it is time to take a look not only at what the drivers will be facing today during the race, but also what they'll be facing in qualifying. We'll have the opportunity to go on board here to show you all what a qualifying lap here at Auto Club looks like. On board here with the number 5, Tim Robb from American University, a former winner here in the CIL, and he'll take us around this 2-mile oval and show us what it's like to run a fast lap here in California.
Yeah, this is a very wide open, very quick track in this beautiful red, white, and blue American machine tonight on 9/11. You can see very wide entry into turns 1 and 2, getting all the way to the bottom of the track. That's where a lot of the grip is on new tires. Swinging very wide off of turn 2. It flattens out pretty quickly, so you got to be careful to stay off the wall because that can end your qualifying run very quickly. But full throttle, pretty heavy into turn 3. It's deceptively fast, but once again, going all the way to the bottom, swinging up wide, use the banking with you, and this curved front stretch as well. So you can get on throttle more than you think you can. And then just get all the way to the bottom to make the distance between start line to finish line as short as possible.
Yeah, and especially at Auto Club, that's a track where you can do that with the apron there Not too many tracks you can really run the apron the entire length of the front stretch, but most of Auto Club is in play when it comes to coming off the corner of turn 4, and we've seen a lot of passes happen down on that apron, including 1 or 2 for the win here before. So certainly going to be a lot of excitement coming off of 4, whether it's you choose to go down to the apron or you do it accidentally if you get really loose coming off the corner.
Yeah, and you are going to want to use every bit of track that you can find coming off the corner to get the run down the straightaways. This is a very technical track, but one of the most fun. The drivers love coming here. It's a staple of the College Cup Series calendar, and for good reason. But right now, I believe the drivers are warming up after qualifying. They've got their fast laps in. Now they've got a chance to practice some race pace. And I believe we are going to take a look at tonight's starting grid for our Never Forget 200. And starting off on row number 1, numbers are a little wrong, but this is row 1. Pole position goes to Timothy Moore from Manhattanville College. Last week's Daytona 250 champion starts on pole tonight in the inside row of number 1. Jack Ritchie from Coastal Carolina University. That's another banger of a quali lap, 40.0 on the outside. Oop, hold on. These are not the correct results. We're still waiting. We're going to wait on race control to finalize a few things here. They're still looking at some data, but we are going to have those results. This is row number 2. Clint Halterman is on pole position, actually, for the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Logan Clampett, yes, you heard it right. Logan Clampett, the famous Coke Series driver, is racing with us tonight for California State University. He is on the front row to the outside, starting in P2. But there you see row 2, Tim Moore and Jack Ritchie. Work with our technical difficulties here, folks. I don't have access to the that data at the moment.
Right now, we are working on bringing that the grid to you in just a moment here once we have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, so here is a look at our grid. You can see your starting top 10. Clint Halterman, Logan Clampett, Drew Jawa, Timothy Moore, Garrett. And this track is limited by fuel, so you're going to see the drivers coming in for pit stops at about 46 laps. But we'll see most drivers pitting between about lap 33 to 40 and 66 to 80 if we see the race go completely green. But you are going to want to stay on the bottom line on the newer tires.
Yeah, the bottom line is absolutely the faster line on fresh tires, and as they start to wear out, you'll see some people start to slide back farther up the track.
Right behind him on his tail, Logan Clampett